The planet was quiet in the way graveyards are quiet. Not peaceful, not calm, but finished. Lieutenant Elias Crow moved through the wreckage with the slow discipline of a man who had learned the cost of mistakes. His boots crunched against vitrified stone, where streets had once flowed with alien life. Towers leaned at impossible angles, frozen mid-collapse, like corpses caught trying to escape the sky. The air tasted wrong, metallic, bitter. Empire weapons always left that taste. "Recon Unit Crow, confirm biosigns," his rest unit whispered. Elias exhaled through his nose and scanned again. Nothing. Then, a flicker. One signal, so faint it barely registered. He frowned. That's not right. The Virelian Empire didn't miss. Their exterminations were surgical, thorough, and merciless. Entire species erased down to genetic dust, so no future tribunal could accuse them of anything more than pacification. Elias adjusted his rifle and continued forward. If there was a survivor, protocol said he should log it and retreat. Protocol had never stood in the ruins of a dead civilization before. The palace rose from the city's center like a broken crown. Even shattered, it radiated authority. Organic architecture curved upward in spirals of white stone and crystalline growths that caught the dying sunlight and scattered it into faint rainbows across the ash. Elias slowed as he entered. His visor flickered. Gravity felt heavier, not physically, emotionally, as if the building itself remembered being full of voices, laughter, ceremony. His boots echoed too loudly in the hollow space, like an intruder disturbing a tomb. Then he saw her. She lay on the steps of a fractured throne dais, surrounded by scorch marks and collapsed crystal. Her body was tall and elegant, draped in ceremonial fabric, torn and burned almost beyond recognition. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale gold beneath layers of ash. Strange markings, biological, not decorative, ran along her arms and neck, glowing weakly like embers refusing to die. A queen, Elias realized, not guessed, known. Her crown lay beside her, split down the center, as if someone had struck it deliberately. He stepped closer. Her chest moved, barely. Elias knelt, slowly, carefully, as if sudden movement might shatter the fragile moment. The scanner in his gauntlet screamed warnings. Unknown species, critical biological failure, interference not advised. He ignored it. Her eyes opened. They were vast, luminous, layered with colors his mind struggled to categorize. When they focused on him, Elias felt a pressure behind his eyes, like standing too close to something ancient and powerful. She tried to speak. Her voice was soft, cracked, carrying the weight of grief rather than sound. "Human," she whispered, the word shaped with effort. "You are real?" Elias swallowed. "Yeah, I'm real." Her fingers trembled, reaching. Instinctively, he took her hand. The moment their skin touched, the world fell away. Elias gasped as images flooded his mind. A world alive with color, cities grown, not built, a people who sang to their machines and listened when the stars answered back. Then, fire. Empire fleets blotting out the sky, admirals smiling as they signed extermination orders, her people kneeling, trusting, and being burned anyway. Elias staggered, barely catching himself. She felt his reaction and tried to pull away, fear flickering across her features. "I did not wish to wound you," she murmured. "I am broken." Elias tightened his grip. "No," he said firmly. "You're alive." Outside, thunder rolled. Dropships. Elias's calm crackled briefly. Empire encryption signatures spiking across the spectrum. They were coming back, to erase her, to erase him if necessary. He looked at the alien queen, wounded, exhausted, abandoned by the galaxy, and felt something harden inside his chest. He had joined the Terran Union because humans believed in something radical, that no one deserved to be erased.
"I don't know who you are," he said softly as he activated his med gel, "but I'm not leaving you here." Her eyes widened. "You will be hunted," she warned. "They will not forgive this." Elias smiled grimly. "Yeah, that tracks." The med gel adapted impossibly fast, interfacing with alien biology like it had been waiting for her. The glow in her markings strengthened. She gasped softly, not in pain, but relief. He lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than she should have been, like someone who had given too much of herself to survive. As he moved through the collapsing palace, explosions shook the upper levels. Empire soldiers were already landing. She rested her head against his chest. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you save me?" Elias didn't answer right away. Then, honestly, "Because someone should have." They escaped through forgotten sublevels, royal evacuation tunnels no Empire map had recorded. By the time Elias sealed the final blast door behind them, his lungs burned and his legs trembled. He collapsed into a maintenance alcove and finally allowed himself to breathe. She slept, deeply, her breathing steady, her grip firm on his jacket, as if instinct refused to let go. Elias leaned back against the cold wall, exhaustion crashing over him like a wave. For the first time in years, he slept. Warmth. That was the first thing he noticed. Then weight. Then the soft, unfamiliar rhythm of another heartbeat. Elias's eyes snapped open. The alien queen lay curled against him, her head tucked beneath his chin, one arm draped across his chest with unconscious intimacy. Her markings glowed faintly in the dim light, pulsing in time with his own heartbeat. She looked peaceful, safe. Something shifted in his mind. A gentle presence, awake now. "You did not leave," her voice echoed, not spoken, but felt. Elias exhaled slowly. "No, I didn't." Outside the bunker, the galaxy was already changing. The hunt begins. Elias's dropship tore free of the planet's atmosphere, just as emerald lances of plasma scorched the sky beneath him. Empire interceptors, 3 of them, fast, ruthless, purpose-built to kill anything that ran. "Of course," Elias muttered, as alarms wailed through the cockpit. "Wouldn't be a clean exit otherwise." The queen stirred behind him, secured in the crash harness he'd improvised. Her eyes opened instantly, alert despite the injuries she'd barely survived. "They have found us," she said calmly. Elias glanced back. "You say that like it's a weather update." "They will not stop. The Empire cannot allow me to exist." That landed heavier than any missile. Elias pulled the yoke hard, sending the ship into a spiraling dive as emerald lances of plasma ripped past the canopy. "Good thing humans are stubborn," he said. "What's your name, Your Majesty?" She hesitated. Then, softly, "Aurelia." The name echoed in his mind like a bell struck underwater. The interceptors closed in. Empire pilots were precise, efficient. They flew like machines, predictable, perfect, deadly, which was exactly why Elias smiled. "Hold on," he warned. He cut engines. The dropship went dead. The interceptors overshot in a flash of confusion, streaking past as Elias rerouted power manually and dumped coolant into the exhaust ports. The ship reignited in a violent sideways burst, slingshotting through debris and vanished into the shadow of a shattered moon. Aurelia stared at him. "You chose chaos," she said slowly. Elias shrugged. "We specialize in it."
For the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. They hid inside the moon's hollowed interior, an ancient mining scar left by long-dead species. Elias powered down everything non-essential. Silence fell. Not empty, intimate. Aurelia studied the ship, the human technology, Elias himself. "You are afraid," she said. "Yeah, but I'm used to that." She considered him for a long moment. Then, "My people believed the Empire was order, stability, protection." Her voice tightened. "They promised peace if I surrendered." Elias's jaw clenched. "They filmed it, my kneeling, my apology. Then they broadcast the annihilation of my world as a warning." Rage burned in Elias's chest, cold, focused, human. "They won't get away with it," he said. Aurelia looked at him, not as a queen now, but as a woman who had lost everything. "Why do you care?" she asked quietly. Elias met her gaze. "Because we're supposed to look away." The moon was more than shelter. It was a sanctum. Aurelia felt it the moment she stepped on its ancient stone, a resonance that hummed through her bones and into Elias's mind. "This place remembers," she whispered. Lights bloomed along the walls, responding to her presence. Symbols ignited, old, powerful, alive. "Elias," said Aurelia carefully, "what is this?" "A sanctum of continuance," she replied. "A place where queens were bound."
Elias didn't hesitate. "Then we do the right." She hesitated this time. "It will bind you to me," she said. "Emotion, memory, pain." Elias stepped closer. "I already saw your world burn. Kind of feels like we're past casual." She let out a soft, startled sound, half laughter, half disbelief. They stood within the glowing circle together. The ritual wasn't fire or spectacle. It was connection. Light flowed between them, threading their minds together. Not control, not domination, but choice. Elias felt her strength. She felt his resolve. When it ended, they were both breathing hard, different, stronger. Outside the moon, hyperspace ruptured. Empire warships were arriving, and at their center, an admiral's flagship. The admiral who burned a world. The stars fractured. Hyperspace tore open like a wound, spilling Empire warships into real space in perfect formation. Sleek, angular hulls bristling with weapons, designed not for battle, but extermination. At their center loomed the flagship Vigil of Dominion. Aurelia stiffened beside Elias. "That ship," she whispered. "He is here." Elias's sensors confirmed it. Command signature, supreme authority. Admiral Cale Vorthen, the man who had ordered her world erased. Elias felt the bond between them tighten, not fear, but something colder, focused, ready. "They followed us," Elias said. "Means they're scared." Aurelia looked at him, surprised. "Why would they fear you?" Elias grinned without humor, "Because humans don't stay quiet when we find the truth." Empire channels lit up in chaos. Vorthen's smile vanished. "You primitive animal, you have no idea what you've done." Elias met his gaze. "Oh, I do." The first shots lit the void. Empire destroyers opened fire, emerald beams slicing space apart. Elias's ship rolled hard as defensive systems screamed. Then something incredible happened. New hyperspace signatures, hundreds of them. Terran Union vessels, frigates, carriers, civilian retrofits pressed into service. Humanity had come. Aurelia stared in disbelief. "They came for us?" Elias swallowed. "They came because someone finally showed them the truth." Across open comms, a Terran captain's voice rang out. "This is the Terran Union. Stand down, Admiral Vorthen. You are under arrest for crimes against sentient life." Vorthen laughed.
Then he ordered the attack. The sanctum reacted. Light surged through the moon, through Aurelia, through the bond. She gasped, not in pain, but power. "This place, it remembers me," she said, voice layered now, resonant. Her markings blazed white gold. Elias felt it too, strength flowing both ways, not domination, partnership. "What can you do?" he asked. Aurelia looked toward the flagship. "I can make him feel what he destroyed." Space erupted into chaos. Human ships flew wrong, unpredictable vectors, reckless maneuvers, pilots trusting instinct over doctrine. Empire formations fractured trying to compensate. Elias piloted straight toward the flagship. Alarm screamed. "You'll die," Aurelia warned. "Not today," Elias said. Aurelia raised her hand. The stars dimmed. A psychic wave rippled outward, not destructive, but revelatory. Empire soldiers staggered at their stations as memories not their own flooded their minds. Burning cities, screaming children, worlds ending. Some dropped their weapons, some wept. Vorthan screamed. They boarded the flagship in fire and silence. Vorthan waited in the command chamber, weapon drawn, composure shattered. "You corrupted her," he spat at Elias. Elias stepped aside. "No," he said, "I listened." Aurelia stepped forward. "You burned my people. Now you will answer for it." Vorthan fired. Elias moved without thinking. The shot missed her, hit him. Pain exploded through his side. Aurelia screamed his name, not aloud, but everywhere. Power surged. The flagship's lights shattered. Vorthan fell to his knees, drowning in the memories he'd tried to erase. Aurelia stood over him. "Judgment is not death," she said. "It is truth." Human soldiers took him into custody. The war was over. Elias woke in a Terran medical bay. White light, steady beeping, warmth. He turned his head. Aurelia lay beside him, asleep, her hand clasped in his. No crown, no throne, just her. When she woke, she smiled softly. "You stayed," she said again. Elias squeezed her hand. "Always." Outside the viewport, human and alien ships floated together, no longer enemies. The galaxy did not change all at once. It never did, but it tilted. That alone was enough. Admiral Cale Vorthan's trial was broadcast across every major system, Terran, neutral, even imperial worlds that had never before seen their leaders questioned. The evidence Aurelia had carried in her mind, memories made undeniable, was irrefutable. Entire planets watched as the Empire's greatest lie unraveled. Pacification became genocide. Order became terror. Unity became obedience enforced by fire. Some worlds rebelled. Others seceded quietly. A few collapsed into chaos. But many, enough, began to speak. And for the first time in centuries, the Empire listened. Aurelia stood before the assembly chamber of the Terran Union, not crowned, not elevated, but present. She wore simple garments now, woven by human hands and altered to fit her physiology. The glow of her markings had softened, no longer blazing with survival fire, but warm and steady. She was no longer running. "I am not here to reclaim an empire," she said, her voice carried gently across the chamber, "nor to demand restitution that cannot be paid." Murmurs rippled through the delegates. "I am here," she continued, "to ensure that what happened to my people does not happen again to anyone." Elias watched from the back, arms crossed, heart pounding harder than it ever had in battle. She spoke of safeguards, shared oversight, joint human-alien monitoring fleets, a sanctuary network for endangered species, not vengeance, protection. When the chamber voted, unanimously, Elias let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Humanity hadn't just won a war. They'd chosen who they wanted to be next. They settled far from politics, a small world on the edge of mapped space, green, quiet, alive. Aurelia liked it because the stars were visible at night. Elias liked it because no one expected anything from them. They built a home together, not a palace, not a fortress, a place with open windows and warm light and a table large enough for more than two. Others came, survivors, refugees, children whose species no longer had a name. They stayed. One night, as Aurelia and Elias watched the adopted children chase fireflies through tall grass, she rested her head on his shoulder. "This," she said softly, "is a kingdom." Elias smiled. "Yeah, and no one's getting burned for it." She turned to him then, not as a queen, not as a symbol, but as the woman who trusted him when the universe had not. "Our bond," she said, "will change us both, forever." Elias met her gaze, steady and certain. "Good," he replied. "I was hoping for forever." She took his hand, not a ritual, not destiny, a choice. Years later, children would learn the story differently. They would speak of a human who broke protocol, a queen who survived annihilation, a war stopped not by conquest but by truth. But Elias remembered it simply. He remembered sleeping alone in the ruins of a dead world and waking up with someone who believed life was still worth saving. He looked down now at the child sleeping between them, eyes closed, breathing slow, glowing faintly with traces of both their species, a future that should not exist.